hidden among the many. In truth, you number among the few. 5,000 years have passed since then, the last time you stood in view. Proud sister to this emerald gem, thy ruby gleam flares bright. So distant though so very near, your passage marks the night. To stand beside the pearl moon and etch your path along the summer skies so deep and clear, your soft and silent song, a fabled world of mystery. We invent heroic prose, for we know not your history in your ancient high repose. The arc of your grand circle has brought you passing near, but soon will carry you beyond our mortal gaze, I fear.
I watch you grow and wonder what you will look like, so safely wrapped within your mother's womb. A small and fragile image so familiar, the world will shift to make for you some room. The autumn breeze has never felt so charming. The multicolored leaves all sing for you. Sunrise waits for you tomorrow morning, to herald in your precious life anew. And as the years pass by, how will you grow? How will your presence shape this little world? For now, at least, I am content to know that you will always be my little girl. I count the days remaining with excitement and wait for your arrival with the dream that your life will be a grand adventure, a vital role for you within the scheme.
Through bitter tears I laugh aloud at life, alas, such irony. Warm sunshine peers through thundercloud that by notion seems dichotomy. There is no heaven without a hell, the conditions of the tragedy. Yet despair is the leaven which our spirits swell to laughter at the comedy.
A mild December, her barren trees which stand in rows of silence, the lack of snow, the humid breeze, though such sadness in her temperance. A crescent moon, I know it's there, all around the ebb of life. No more to touch her crimson hair, no more to name her wife. Pregnant clouds taunt from the air, the smell of rain depresses. And even were the clouds not there to carve these deep recesses, no luminous orb in heaven above could raise this haunted dell. No ghost of joy, no shade of love within this darkened shell.
The coldest snows of winter drift around our sleeping souls, yet even they will fade away with the waxing of the spring. A single rose peers through a rift, an icon of our goals, the symbol of undying love, a song we all would sing. The bitter ice which covers this small world in which we strive has not the power in this dark hour to crush our simple dreams. By what device or fancied bliss does this rose survive? Entrenched in snow, still does it grow, enchanted so it seems. Long have I sought the amaranth, the bloom which never dies, a dreamer's quest for sorrow's rest. Unanswered cries of pain, alone I fought, though adamant, and yet no more, the wise. Just one more day that slipped away, spent and lost in vain. Yet here I find this vexing, odd reflection of my heart, this crimson bloom, despite the gloom of this frozen, lonely place. I left behind, forgive me, God. I set myself apart and chose this path, despair and wrath, where I could hide my face. I shed my tears in solitude. I screamed where no one heard. I'd never find the peace of mind I assumed would come with time. I fled my fears. No fortitude, for I knew not the word. I played my part and lost my heart. this grievous, simple crime. So unlike me, this fragile rose will survive its lot of pain, yet still I yearn and therefore learn a single subtle truth. These cruel snows, this misery, this tiny blood-red stain, in months will yield a summer field of roses in their youth.
Life is a measured fancy, a dream of human pride, the wax and wane of lunar moods, the ebb and flow of tide. The oceans never cease to pulse and never yet have died. And dreams that seem to last all night are more false that they've lied. Awake from dreams to meet the day on all its coldest terms. Realities devour the whims as surely as would worms. And life is but the cruelest dream, as the analogy affirms. It seems at once to last forever, but too soon fades, as truth confirms. Awakening from dream to light, to depression of the soul. Awakening from life is death, which is the dreamer's goal. All one gains and all that's lost becomes the measure of the whole, while the dream's creator, whom some name God, remains unsorrowed for the hopes he stole.
There is no water to quench the thirst that burns with the wine of fire, but I drained the glass. It was my first. In the pursuit of edification, my desire, however poorly I sought the goal, was simply to better myself, become more adept. Perhaps I sought perfection or salvation of the soul. I sought peace and happiness, but was ignorant, inept. What I wanted most was out of reach, and I knew how to touch it not. I strove alone, I strove in vain. I knew no friend, no guardian to teach or savior to shield me from ere I rot. Not dead, not living, but still in pain. Yet fire in the heart, yet rage in the brain. Ever the magician, the liar, I hide it well. The facade of color is less than stain, and tranquility the sheepskin of hell. Devoid of color is the world around. Lifeless is the mood. Behind the clouds no sun is found, and the starving find no food. The vibrant masses pulse in waves, while the vagrant soul is torpid. The surrounding flowers are all that saves the solitary orchid. In the garden in which we live, surrounded by a barrier fence, we thank the gods for what they give and root our lives in reverence. Apart from life by chosen walls, no solace penetrates. The doors are locked down all the halls, and melancholia dominates. The hands that cover the eyes in vain, the humming to numb the ears, can never impede the encroaching pain or absolve the heart of fears. The water of life is ever blanded by absorption in the past. In silent seas, I find I'm stranded. My ability to drink has passed. Allowing thirst for life to dry is not so hard to do, nor difficult to live a lie. To forget what once was true. She whom loved was loved by one. No heaven's light compared. The brilliance overtook the sun, the union that they shared. Wholeness and completion found, a nest where they embraced, no barriers or limits bound. No warmth of wine, a sweeter taste, the pressing of their mouths in kiss, the flavor and scent of her skin were things he never thought he'd miss. To ne'er be replaced again, no fathomed thought to cross his mind ere foretold of losing this. He knew that he would never find again the moment's bliss. Now, whether the sun can be seen or not, listless rains drown the fires. Introversion chooses the spot where the dreamer sits without desires. He gazes past the walls converging at right angles against his back. Where once a life pulsed, surging, a lifetime of goals now spilt and black, alone in the house where she lived to love, since she took his colors from the sky and left no faith in heaven above, leaving only one goal left.
Quietly walk through obsidian night, shiver for lack of heat. Although the stars above are bright, in darkness you are the meat. The fences cannot be seen by you, which temper at bay the beast, and nothing you will ever do will delay the impending feast. Eyes not of this world of ours shine with ebony light. In darkness you can see no flowers, no colour, obsidian night. Seconds on the terrored clock are all the time remains. Black ocean at the end of the dock, and years of pains. The howling wind tears through the trees. Invisible claws rake at the fence. Their mournful cries, the drone of bees, your soul. No time for last repents. Choose carefully the path you take alone, this obsidian night. For every friend is enemy, and nothing now is right. The creatures pine impatiently to rend your tender flesh. They hunger for you lustingly, to feed while the blood is fresh. You only know you sense a chill as you pass through their shackled sight. But once the fetters drop, they will kill this last obsidian night.
In constellations of the skies, the stars we see are telling lies. A shift of gaze or turn of eyes, and other sights now mesmerize. Told we are that things we see are either real or fantasy, but this depends subjectively on idle thoughts in reverie or superstitious vanity. To raise a glass now full of wine and hold it to mine eyes or thine, to gaze upon the tinted shine. The tinctured world we see, though fine, is but a realm of distorted line. We occupy a fluid plane and walk among the rabble sane, yet life for them is pale and wane, and on their souls a crimson stain that mars their lives with constant drain. I myself prefer the hues of blood-red wine to darker blues, and if I were to wear their shoes, to sacrifice my strength to choose, then I, like them, would surely lose. I've felt the heat and crawled the floor, safely locked behind the door that forbids light and does abhor the saffron ghost of sunlight's whore. I deny her ingress forevermore. In darkness, crouching on my knees, beyond their dim obscurities, I laugh at them and feel at ease, because they are as naught but trees, while I alone can walk the breeze.
Old ghosts that were thought for lost have come around again this June. The price, believed paid for the cost, was not enough. We paid too soon. A moment's casual anger bloomed in dark flowers of shattered glass. We noticed how those blue shadows loomed. Even love as strong as ours withers with the autumn grass. Those haunting shades of loneliness slide between us to caress and chagrin our coupled life. These silhouettes of the past entombed would not remain contented, doomed, or allow the grassy earth the pleasure of hoarding all the warm sun's treasure. Seething hatred, violent despise, a growing haze tween truth and lies. Seeking they an avenue, a road dividing me and you, my not quite yet a wife. 2 full moons this month, a rarity. Yet still we find no clarity, no sense we make of fate's true plan. For you the woman and I the man, we would always be together. This life we thought decoded. The dream more fragile than airborne feather, to be arbitrarily crushed, demoted by a loss of unpilotable control. Desperately, we sought to enroll reasoning back into the brew of 4 children, the dreamer and you. This has been a month for moons and 1 more wasted year of age. A month for chiming with the spoons and immolating a secret rage. June, this month, will come and leave. Summer grows old with July. August leaves will only grieve and fall around your bed. You lie alone for now in sheets, awaiting my return to bed. I pray this month has no repeats, and I can rest a weary head. These ghosts will leave again, I know, yet a part of me with them will go.
Within the recessed chambers of a haunted mortal mind lie the ever-burning embers of lost memories intertwined with learned belief buried deep beneath the stone of conscious thought and whim. Roam the ghosts, best left alone, and moan the phantoms dim without relief. There have been moments, far and few, most often at the edge of sleep, which allow a furtive, crystal view. Memories imprisoned deep and not my own. The half-wake image clear as day. While familiar are the senses, the sounds and smells will fade away as I look past those fences to the unknown. I've stood upon the open moors, the winter mist an icy cloak. Though I've not seen those Scottish shores, I feel at times the embers stoke, and I recall. I know the scent and texture of her rain. I've walked along her cliffs beside the sea. I have felt the burning of a warrior's pain, though I bear not those scars with me. Yet I recall. Does memory exist within the blood? For a Scotsman's mantle I have surely worn, and while my feet have never touched her mud, I know I was once Highlander born. I recall.
Having survived the violence of the tempest's angry rant, she enjoys the pleasant silence broken by the trees' soft chant. A whispered breeze caresses, small drops of rain still fall, her golden billowed tresses dancing lightly through it all. The evening sun burns gentle, much cooler than the noon, while in the eastern sky the mantle of the sacred horned moon, rising slowly from her bed of cloud, assumes a more familiar form, while the patron star shines proud, though recently obscured by storm. His evanescing reign is wondrous as his majesty flares bright. The heavy clouds, so dark and thunderous, bear a softer hue this night. Having witnessed nature's fury now and entranced by reverie, she sees the truth and wonders how she failed before to see.
A heavy breast of aching lead, and a cloak of deepest black, wear on this poet's pondering head, for there is no turning back. These lowly days in late December waste away, spent in vain. A darker day I can't remember, and yet I stay, succumb again. The ground beneath my feet is colder than the damp wind at my face. This world to which I'm damned is older than the first tenant of this place. Broken clots of dirt lie scattered around this gaping, empty grave. To coin, the golden bowl is shattered, with nothing left to save. My hands are numb from sleeting ice. My heart is numb by loss. I've not been to this place but twice, this kingdom ruled by moss. Soon enough this day will spend. This funeral marks the date. Even bitter years will end. Or so I've learned of late. My gaze is drawn into the hole within the frozen earth that lends to rest a weary soul and weighs our mortal worth. As I stare, I recollect with mournful clarity a wondrous life in retrospect. Such vision is a rarity. Reflections of our joyous times bend my mouth to smile. Forgiven are our little crimes, which wound us but a while. Soon enough this day will fade, this bitter month, this year. Whatever penance must be paid, I accept and do not fear. The vessel passes from my view to nestle within the tomb, its brass facade, shining, new, enveloped by death's womb. Broken clay is heaped upon that sleek and brass cocoon, and I cannot but wonder on how life can change so soon.
Sitting calmly, situated beside the window, a stoic portrait of life through glass, a watching picture observing life below, the trees, the people, the sun, the grass, alone in thoughts of not being alone, dreaming of the wonderful contentment, a glance from window to idle phone, a silent reminder of the resentment, the longing desire to hear her voice, to laugh with a cherished friend. He resumes staring, as if by choice, at the outside's beginning, through glass, to the inside's end. The breeze caresses, he feels her touch, the whisperings of leaves, her voice is such. Behind closed eyes, in thoughts of bliss, to hold her close, to taste her kiss, to talk as friends, to share, confide, to accept what fate may hold in store, to reach through the window and no longer hide, and start as friends walking out the door.
With his shoulders draped against the cold, the northern winds howl with little slack. The bison's skins are tough to hold upon his brittle, aged back. He ran with elk when he was young, but barely walks on withered feet. The hunter's spear he strongly flung has hungered many years for meat. He recalls a proud and thriving tribe before the land was subjugated, when no false lines could yet describe the boundaries now designated by the intruders from across the seas who brought his people to their knees. Phantom thunder across the plain incites a vision of numerous herds, and the whisperings of snow and rain defy description with mortal words. The freedoms of this desolate age are not true freedoms. In his heart, his memories, as dry as sage, tear his ancient soul apart. The children of his children cling in broken hoops and scattered sand, and beat their drums and dance and sing, but not within their father's land. The smoke of ceremony withers on the breeze, an omen grim as December's trees. The moon still sheds familiar light, and will not let darkness swallow all. In the still of winter she shines most bright on his tribe's cold white funeral pall. He sits astride a spirit horse and views the land which once he knew. Just as nature takes her course and springtime heralds life anew, the sere and withered prairie grass will hide the scars of wounds unhealed, as plains the shade of soldiers' brass bloom green across a verdant field. The elder's vision turns at length from embers of a faded dream. He finds within his frame the strength to cross the final frozen stream that passes from his lingering gaze into the awaited promised land. His vigil to preserve his ways snaps the last remaining strand. His hoop completed now at last, the elder guides his horse along and makes peace with his turmoiled past with a proudly chanted song. Passerby with willing ears can catch the echoes, faint but there, of words not spoken for 100 years by that chieftain lingering in the air.
On the verge of something great, I bide my time and think and wait for my ideas to turn from smoke to stone. Several concepts large and small, I cannot comprehend them all, but still I sort them out, because a winner lies within. My right hand aches for things to scribe. Anticipation I can't describe. I have to make these notes or else soon all will be forgotten. Stories and creations lie beneath my skull. I hear them cry to be transformed from thought to base existence. I wish I had the time to rise these creatures that I visualize and give them, at the very least, a world to call their own. From realms beneath our veil of sight, to beasts which hunt throughout the night, and heroes who embody all the ideals we admire, to the women warriors and evil men, who would destroy us times again. They all belong to some grand tale, which I have yet to tell. I am not afraid to die, but in peace I could not lie, until all the stories in my head have been emptied into paper. The rhythm of my hooves crunching gravel. My coat of hair is soaking slick with sweat. The longest road that I will ever travel continues with no sign of progress yet. The burden hitched behind me, unrelenting. The wooden wheels resist against my pull. There is no choice, no chance, for circumventing the task of bearing up this hill, this full responsibility and task chained to my back. I have the strength to walk this unforgiving road. It is the strength of will to resist that I lack. By my birth, I was indentured to this load. I long to find a single drink of water. My body cries against the forced demand. The cracking of the whip is all the fodder I can ever hope to gain treading the sand. In my heart of hearts, I know this toil will surely only lead to my demise, but I am just allowed to tread the soil and gaze forward past my blinders to the skies. I earn a living, if that's what you'd call it. I pay the bills and keep my children fed. Even though I seem to have a leaking wallet, because I'm always sinking in the red. I pay the taxes that the state has reasoned is owed to them because I'm still alive. With this routine, I guess I should be seasoned. Yet I barely keep the means to just survive. I have no false pretenses of possession, nor do I believe that I am truly free, because I'm too engrossed in this recession to achieve the goals which I have set for me. I haul the massive stones to serve the Pharaoh. I slip through mud and mire as I strain. I long to breathe the same air as the sparrow, as I struggle with the harness and the chain. I have no other purpose but to labor. I have been told that rest comes when I die. Be it by indentured servitude or saber, until that fateful day comes, I still try.
What lies beyond these sleek canyons, these fabricated cliffs? The grandeur of symmetry and achievement is little more than a stoic mask, a veiled facade which hides the nature of man, mortal flesh concealing a spiritual worth. The sun yet shines upon these constructs of steel and glass, peering through the disjointed clouds along with the eyes of God. These parapets are not for war, atop these bastions to mortal vanity. Yet a falcon's view can still be obtained. A majestic view, a lofty seraphic scan unfolds an introspective view which transcends the mortal state. At baser levels of comprehension lies the ghost of memory, an instinctive recollection of the sublime truth. Sinew aches to feel the heft of fashioned steel, and the chill breath of the currents calls his hidden name. His back seems barren, despite the barrier of leather draped across his shoulders. The weight is familiar, and the rustle of the trench coat about his legs comforts him. The caress as cherished as a lover's touch. The connection of the sensory fragments mocks and torments his attempts to understand the analogy in symmetry. What could these cold, massive constructs have to that immaterial and amorphous revelry? What lies beyond these infested chasms, these inhabited towers? The illusion of order surrounding chaotic motion is little more than a subtle hint. The haphazard universe hides the structure of God, his presence palpable yet never seen. Bowing down in shame for crimes he cannot recall, he reaches for the sword that is not there. He shuts his eyes to enhance the phantom rustling of the pinions at his back. The wind caresses gently with chagrin, as though the grudge against him still exists. High atop these modern Babel towers, he feels the fog of memory shift and tease. The penitence he suffers bears a purpose, and he pleads for mercy on his mortal knees.
Illness wrought the mortal low and sank his soul in gloom. Thus began the journey through the lifetime of the tomb. In nature's soft embrace of moss that she likened unto love, the body lay discorporate, the spirit soared above. The encumbered wept in sorrowed loss, the unchained laughed in spite. Above the ground in darkness wept those who could not see the light. A brilliance permeate the form of him who had been whole. Separate now by veil of earth and distanced of the soul. Icy were the senses touched, but cold was ill impressed upon the freedom from his hole, where death crouched upon his breast. The light did beckon from afar, a siren, still but loud. He felt its presence as though the sun was touched by shade of cloud. A chill as brief and yet as firm as the dross upon his shell. He found he now stood at the chasm which spanned the mouth of hell. Torn between the bliss of light and trepidation of the fiend, a gentle, icy finger's touch of third choice intervened. A panic swelled within a heart that no longer pumped of bile, and he fled both what was joyous and what he perceived as vile. Allow the chains to be recast. Allow the fetters be the burden of my never-ending restless reverie, to wander without purpose and without the sight to see. The soul which cannot rest, it seems, is no one else but me. I mourn, but do not bear regret. For lost rapture, shouted he, but no living soul e'er heard the ghoul and heard he'll never be.
The measure of the passing year, as years that passed before, is meted by our actions here. A grim impartial score. Days pass by on zephyr wings and blur our retrospect. We must suffer life its slings. A notion I reject. I would rather like to dream. If I may be so bold, we journey down a winding stream and join the river's fold, to be borne along that stronger flow until we reach the eternal sea. We swim against the undertow and struggle with the eddy. We lose our way from time to time. We thrash to stay abreast, but the steady current, so sublime, keeps us floating with the rest. There are the few along the route who give up hope and drown below. The river's challenge, leave no doubt, devours both the weak and slow. However cruel the testing seems, nature tasks her children's strength. So when we wake from troubled dreams and have at last traversed her length, the ocean spreads before our eyes, to let her wonders thus unfold. Then we shall know no boundaries and suffer no more from the cold. Analogies of the journey from our mortal toils to heaven's bliss. A nigh uncalculated sum of possibilities exist. The crowds of people fro and to, wave and blend shade as they pass. They, from a window's lofty view, are fields of errant blades of grass, each one unique and self-absorbed and bound unknowingly to earth, while fauna from a higher sphere watch from above and judge their worth. Between the soil and golden-orbed heavens is another plane, where pinioned wings grasp and adhere and float above the weighted strain of gravitation's forceful grasp. The universal hinge and hasp. We walk along a curving plane connected by entangled strings to other places where our vain sights cannot perceive such subtle things. Degrees of freedom come in 3, while knowledge of the hypersphere is far above our obscurity, and what we cannot perceive we fear. The errant blades of grass reach out, but cannot perceive the sky above. They have heard, but still they doubt the fables of the mythic dove. The measure of our passing years, as years have passed before, is meted by our doubts and fears, a grim, short-sighted score. Days pass by on zephyr wings and blur our hindered sight. We suffer from our own sharp slings and hide from shadows in the night. We hope and yearn for higher planes where salvation's fancied breath can gently waft away our pains and save our souls in death. What we can see is all we know, peering through the window glass. When we look out to the yard, we know it's time to mow the errant grass.
I watch her from my window. Sometimes I stare for hours, while she observes a temporal flow from her surrounding bed of flowers. Often have I wondered just how much she has endured, every time it's rained and thundered, or winter blankets have obscured the circumference of her view, every sunrise jeweled with dew. Sightlessly, her longing gaze betrays her melancholy vigil of unending days, bereft of joy or folly. Occasionally I pay her homage, as though it was my duty. Despite uncounted years of damage, I still marvel at her beauty. Her marbled skin is cracked and fading, her colors bleached with time, yet proudly she reclines there, waiting, her pose suggestive and sublime. Of inhibition she is shorn. A simple cloth around her waist is all that she has ever worn. Symbolism of her chaste existence alone, untouched, ignored. Sorrowed longing she doth express, strikes within my chest a chord. No lover's gentle, warm caress to soften the erosive grind of the caustic sun and elements. Over the years, within my mind, I have come to know a psychic sense, a kindred spirit of a kind, imagined by this misanthrope, a silent plea from within the stones, a whispered, patient voice of hope. Beneath the eczema, softly moans. Amid the rustling of rose and aster, the barely audible request issued forth from stone and plaster. I know the heart within her breast beats only on the wing of imagination, though it seems I have heard her wistfully sing in the midst of waking dreams. Now the task before me lies, a siren I cannot decline, for I have sensed the bonding ties between her heart of stone and mine. She has occupied this garden long before I ever knew that I had allowed to harden my own introverted view. I see now a like condition between the heart and stony mask. Perhaps this pattern of attrition can be mended by the task of my self-imposed contrition for neglecting both our wounds. I make preparations for my mission and spend my afternoons kneeling beside her in submission to her subtle, quiet grace. I begin by brushing off the dust which has gathered upon her face, her cheekbones high and proud beneath her Romanesque brow, raised aloof. As I peel away the sheath of age, I see the proof that she has stood well against the weight leveled down upon her form. While she owned no means to relocate, to flee from each successive storm, she remained stoic throughout the years. Her neck and shoulders bear the scars most heavily from the fierce progression of eternal hours, yet corrosive time has failed to pierce her polished skin. Her arms are strong, to have borne the pose she has maintained so long, encircled by the thorny rose. The midday sun pours down her back, as have the eroding rains, and highlights each and every crack, limned with chalky water stains. The curve and swell of distaff charm is carefully restored anew. As I undo neglected harm, I expose to my awakened view a hidden underlying strength that disjoints my atrophy. The lesson I have learned, at length, I was far too close to see. Despite her scars and weather cracks, the damaged one was me.